Microdose, yeah. Microdose. Microdose. Microdose, dose. Microdose. Microdose, dose. Microdose. Microdose, dose.
Hey, what's good, y'all? Kush Hayes here. Episode number 197 of the Microdose. Trying to wrap this thing up. I'm happy to announce we've already recorded and canned episode 200. So that's in the bank, much like a Seinfeld finale or a Friends series finale. It's done. It's all we can do is go forward and fill in the gaps in between. So, hence today's show. It's gonna be a clip show. If you're not okay with that, well, come back next week. We'll actually have a real live guest. That should be a lot of fun. I may or may not talk about that on the Waffle Box later. I was thinking about today putting this together. Just, the fun that I would have on this show. And there's close to 200 of these things now, so it is absolutely hard to just go like, oh yeah, let me just go straight to this one, or let me go straight to that one. As you can tell, as I've said, it's a clip show. We have no guests, so I just wanted to go into the vault. And there's times where I'm editing this, and I'm just like, we don't need to talk for an hour and a half. Let's just rip some of this out, So some outtakes I've cut because, well, maybe it didn't go anywhere, or we had a good conversation, but it just dragged on too much. So maybe I edited the piece just a little bit too much. Well, I got two clips today from two of my favorite guests. And first one is going to be from Steven Steinbacher. You've seen him on a bunch of episodes lately, but this is going all the way back to Microdose number 112. We recorded it probably about April 7th, 2022. I don't know if that was the release date or when I just finally finished the edit. But anyways, in this episode, we are talking about our thoughts on The Batman. Did you end up seeing The Batman by any chance?
I did.
What'd you think
I
of that
liked
shit?
it. Okay, so it's like, I think most of it is really, really good, but like 60% of the movie was dedicated to setting up other movies in a way I found like really flaccid and boring, I guess. It did the appropriate thing where it wrapped all of these other narratives into like the main story. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I just felt like the pacing was really ruined because of it. And I don't know. Like, can I get into spoilers? Can I get into specifics? Because I haven't written a review or anything, but I do have some beef about this. Was that a yes?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay,
Folks,
right.
you've been warned here. We've talked about The Batman already. I enjoyed it. That third hour is abysmal. But
yes,
overall, I liked it. But you've been warned with this ramble. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, spoilers on.
All right, so like basically everything with Falcone sucks, in my opinion.
Really?
I think John Turturro was really good casting, and I like that scene where Bruce goes to visit him. I think that's a compelling scene. But then the next scene of the movie is him going to see Alfred, and Alfred immediately tells him something that like is supposed to refute what he just learned from Falcone. It just makes like 20 minutes of the movie totally negated, basically. Like Falcone's like, your dad asked me to kill him. and then Alfred's like, no, your dad didn't ask him to kill him. Your dad just went to a mobster and asked him to silence a reporter. That's not what he thought would happen.
Right.
Okay. And then that's only even there because they're setting up the stuff with the Joker, which is like barely in the movie. Like they're doing the Batman's mom was in Arkham Asylum, and that's where she got like sexually assaulted by a guard, and that's where the Joker came from. They've done that in the comics before. I always hate when they do that.
Is the Joker going to be Batman's real dad?
I think it's going to be his half brother because they went with like a young
that's also
guy.
Stupid.
Yeah,
I've
I don't
seen
want that.
I've seen that in the past, and that's dumb.
Right, and it's dumb. And so it's like all of that stuff is lame, and like the scene where Catwoman goes to kill Falcone, like she all of a sudden can't do anything, like she can't shoot for shit. She's like really weak for no reason. Like, why is this old man able to strangle Catwoman? Like, it makes her look so weak in a movie that was kind of her movie up until that point. Like, I don't know. But at the same time, like visually, Greg Fraser killed it with his photography. Like I like the look of this a lot more than I like the look of Dune personally, although that was still a good looking movie.
Mhm. Dune
Just
won all
thinking-
the awards it should have won at the Academy Awards, not to sidetrack everything.
I mean, if a movie wins every technical award, shouldn't it probably also win like Best Director, Best Picture?
No.
Just my thought. I don't know.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because it's still half a movie, but what was on that
Right.
celluloid, what was in that MP4 file, beautiful.
Yeah. It is a gorgeous film for sure. It wasn't my favorite movie by any means, but I don't know. I would have been fine with that winning over some other stuff. Not that I really care about the Oscars, but back to the Batman.
Back to the Batman.
I wish like every scene with a villain that wasn't the Riddler had been one scene. Like if we'd only gotten one scene of the Penguin, I would have been wanting so much more of him. But instead we go to his club like 5 times and he doesn't really have an impact on the story. He just has a fun, and like his scene is funny. He's he's there to tell a pun, and then like that's it. He waddles off. Like a good visual gag, but like it's a 3-hour movie, and half of these scenes are only there to like set up the Gotham PD TV show or in an Arkham Asylum TV show or something. Like,
or a Penguin TV show.
I don't care. Yeah, and then it's like all the villains you're seeing are villains you've seen in previous movies. Not that that's like a huge knock against it. It's just I didn't expect it to be like another super grounded Batman movie. Like I like that he kind of eats shit and he doesn't know what he's doing. Like his squirrel suit scene's really fun, but at the same time, like, do I need another like psychopathic Batman villain that's like, oh, we made it like a real movie? It's like Heat, it's like 7 or whatever. Like I don't know. Paul Dano. I
enjoyed the whole 7 aspect. Paul Dano is fun until it's revealed that it's Paul Dano. I also enjoy the squirrel suit scene because like every Batman movie we've had, for all the way going, even to Adam West, like he's running away from somebody. People are chasing him. He climbs up. He dives off. Perfect Olympic swan dive off of a cliff or off a ledge, and then he does something with the grappling hook or the cape extends or whatever. This one, he gets all the way on the ledge and then like stops. And like his eyes bulge out of the mask, and like, oh my god, I didn't think this one through. Shit.
Yeah.
All right, I guess I got. Then the stupid part where the squirrel suit comes in, and I was just like, oh, that's fucking dumb. But then he did concuss himself on the bridge, and I was like, all right, you're right. I enjoyed everything within the first 2-hour block. You know, in fact, that third, again, going back to that third hour, that could have been the first hour of the next movie.
Right.
You know,
it's too much. Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much excess. But there's still so much good in there. Like I like that we don't really hang out with Bruce Wayne much. I like that I forget Robert Pattinson is Batman until Bruce Wayne does show up. Like, oh shit. Hey, and I don't have a beef with Robert Pattinson like all the other F boys do.
No, I thought he was excellent in the role. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, he was dope.
Although I've always liked him. I mean, I saw Cosmopolis when it came out, so like.
Nice. What is the thing where he's in a tracksuit?
Tracksuit.
You see him. You're seeing plenty of memes with him where he's dressed up like a wigger. I don't think that's a PC term we can use anymore, but still.
yeah. Like, someone got mad at me for saying that a couple of years ago.
Really fascinating.
Yeah, I think it's fine personally, but.
Well, just in this room, and no one else can hear us.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. It's just us here. All right.
Oh, you're thinking a Good Time. That's what you're thinking of.
Good Time. Yeah. Okay, that's
kind of weird. Yeah.
The guys who did
the Safdie Bros. It's Safdie excellent. Bros. Yeah, I love Good Time.
So overall, yeah, dude, I really dug the Batman. Funny extra Batman note is I'm at that film festival. And when X isn't playing next door, you don't notice it at all. But the Batman is playing, and you hear all of it. The entire time I'm hearing that doom, doom.
Yeah.
Which is kind of fun when it bleeds into your found footage film that's not supposed to have any audio or any music narrative with it. It's like, oh, now things are getting really bleak here. One of my favorite scenes, again, that bled through the walls, is the reveal of the Batmobile. Where,
cool moment, yeah.
It's a cool moment, but it's also going back to like the squirrel suit scene. Like he's so just, hasn't thought things through, so he's just revving the engine the entire time, and it happens off screen, but you can hear it if you're listening for it. I didn't hear this through the walls, but like the engine stalls out because he's just fucking revving the engine the entire time. It's like, and then you have to crank it on again. So that's when the Penguin's eyes was like, oh no, this guy's really serious now.
Yeah.
Now I should probably leave. He was just revving his engine for 5 minutes, but now I need to go. And then the whole chase is fun. But
the chase is cool. It's definitely the best action scene in the movie. I was kind of disappointed by like the actual hand-to-hand combat. It wasn't bad, but it was a little clunkier than I was hoping for, like some obvious speed ramping and stuff. But I got to give it credit. It looks and sounds like a real movie in the way these superheroes movies just generally don't anymore. Like those, like there isn't a bad green screen effect in the whole movie because they're using these awesome 8K live mats basically for the cityscapes and stuff. And it all looks fantastic, like for a 3-hour movie. And that movie costs $100 million. It didn't cost 200-300 million like a lot of these do. I mean, I'm sure it was a little higher than they're reporting right now, but I'll give it credit. Like it was very, very efficiently made compared to most of these big blockbusters.
Do you remember? You might not remember this, but like it was a big deal when Terminator 2 cost $70 million, and then the next year Jurassic Park was a full $100 million. You're like, they're madmen. What are they doing? And now that's just par for the course. And now I'm impressed to hear that Batman was only $100 million.
Yeah, it is impressive. Like it's
I think even the Nolan films were more expensive than that.
They definitely were. Maybe not the first one, but the second and third were.
All right. What do you think the first one cost? Batman Begins, 2005.
Oh, I couldn't tell you in 2005. I also haven't seen that movie in a long time. I don't know. Let's guess 80 million. I'm going to look it up right now.
That's a fair guess. While you're doing that, I'm going to tell 2 stories about Batman Beyond. So Batman Begins came out in the theaters before HD was kind of a thing. And then HD became a commercial ready available thing. And my cousin, who has to get everything new, got the HD version of Batman Begins, and you could see like, oh my God, Gotham City is just made out of cardboard. This is blowing my mind. When I went to go see Batman Returns, I like to be by myself, Steven Steinbacher. I don't want to sit next to people. Like, call it whatever you want. Maybe I just don't like people. So
I feel you.
There's a period where I'm sitting in the handicap section. And I'm sitting in the handicap section for Batman Returns. We don't have assigned seating. It's just come as you are, first come, first serve. But obviously, give it up. So I'm sitting in a chair that's designated for a wheelchair companion. Someone taps me on the shoulder on the right, and I look up, and it's a woman standing above me, and she's like, "Excuse me, sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave." And I'm about to get into an attitude because it's 2005, and that's how young I am. And then as I look to my left, there's a guy in a wheelchair, and I go like, "Oh, hey, buddy. Yeah, Batman, no problem." And then I just politely excuse myself and find somewhere else to sit and just tolerate it. But yeah, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. We almost made things really terrible there.
Almost started beef.
Almost started bad beef. Like, how bad would that have been?
That would have sucked. I can't imagine going off on a
self-restraint, people. It's a thing. You can do it. It's all right.
Batman Begins cost 150 million, so quite a bit. And then each one after that cost about 30 million more. So the fact that the Batman was only 100, again, pretty impressive.
That was very impressive. Jesus.
I thought they actually handled like the politics of Batman about as well as you could with the new movie. Like they kind of just like, they're like, yeah, he's a weirdo. I don't know. Nobody's saying what he's doing is right. He kind of has a bad influence on the world. His only friend is this cop who's the only good cop in Gotham, apparently. Like, I will give Matt Reeves credit for, I feel like he really understood just the visual comedy on a basic level of Batman as a character. Like him walking in a crime scene and everyone having to like shuffle away from him. Like that shit was fucking hilarious. I could have watched 4 hours of just him like watching people with binoculars as it rained and like walking around crime scenes like awkwardly. That stuff was amazing.
What do you think about the Batman, Robert Pattinson, just eating machine gun bullets at close range?
I don't know.
I mean, it
Like,
looks
really,
good visually, but also just like, bro, you're wearing like 100 pounds of armor at this point. What? Like, how are you doing?
yeah.
How are you doing anything?
I don't know. Honestly, I really was not a big fan of the way the action was done in the film.
Okay.
Just none of the choreography was really interesting to me. There's one scene like right when he enters the nightclub, and there's some good like prop combat, like he like beats a guy with a baseball bat or something. That stuff looked really good. But for the most part, I was honestly really let down by the action. It was just like still a step up from the way the Marvel movies look. I'm not really going to complain about that in comparison, but like compare that to, I know nobody likes this movie but me, but the warehouse fight in Batman versus Superman. Compare that fight scene to anything Pattinson is doing. I know he's like less trained, but I don't know. Like I kind of miss a Batman that could like punch someone so hard they flew into a wall and broke their skull.
Do you remember the guy that bent Batfleck? He spiked his face into the ground, and then the rest of his body just did a 90-degree like pose.
Yes.
Like his jaw is in the floor.
Yeah.
His neck is clearly broken, but his body is doing a 90, and then it does fall over. But
Steven Steinbacher, always a very funny dude. Always got some interesting opinions when it comes to film. Again, I had the privilege of meeting him on the set of Len Kabaczynski's Pact of Vengeance, and me and this dude just hit it off really well, and well, I do consider him a friend. So it was nice that he took the time from his job in Colorado and was able to get on the phone, and you know, it's nice that he donated as much of his time as he could. Another friend of the family here, Lord Battle, hailing all the way from Battle Mountain, Russel Fischer. He's one of the co-founders of the Unnamed Footage Festival, and this year we were going over some stuff. Microdose number 115. The date on it is April 28th, 2022, and we're talking about one of the films in the festival called Alien Report. Papa Kush has had a couple pops in this point, so you wind me a little slow. But you'll get through it. The movie was really interesting. Again, it was a found footage thing. It was more like a found documentary. But basically, this guy got abducted by aliens, and he thinks there's a probe in his head or whatever that's recording it. And so there's Men in Black, and there's actually like some for what the budget on this thing possibly was, like it's really well done. It was really well done. So anyways, here we are, Russel Fischer, Kush Hayes, talking about Alien Report.
Alien Report was one of the ones that showed Saturday too, and
Alien Report. I was looking forward to Alien Report, and that did not disappoint. Did you ever see Christopher Walken Communion?
No, but I've read a lot of like film literature that always calls back to that book.
Because that was like the driest movie in the world, bro.
And, really?
And while I didn't see Fire in the Sky, like it's I think it has as much alien time and as Fire in the Sky as there is in Communion. Like there's no, it's a drama about this dude possibly losing his mind. And did he get abducted? Most folks would say he didn't, but he really insists he did. And it's like the movie is interesting, and it's interesting when you're 11 years old, and it's probably interesting now in my 40s, but that book cover still haunts me. At the book,
yep.
Like it's just the photo, the artist rendition of a gray, and like again, like going to your friend's house that's super religious, and they have the Jesus photo where the eyes follow you. Like it, the book jacket of Communion does that. It's very
now okay. Communion is the one that's based on a real book, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I remember hearing a bunch about
Whitley
that
Strasberg.
Right. What did he do? He went on like Leno or something, right? And they told him do not talk about the probe, because he always would tell people about how he was anally probed. And the dude, I mean, believe him or don't, he seemed like he believed what he was saying. Yeah. And he would always tell people about it. And a lot of people point to him as being both the reason why aliens took off, because Communion, but also the reason why nobody believes them, because he kept talking. Like I believe he would say that the gray aliens, we got it wrong, that they don't look like that, but that they were wearing helmets. and that's they would take those off. So he has a
Fire
bunch
in
of
the
like,
Sky actually had that angle where like the gray faces that we're familiar with from like the book jacket of Communion were literally just masks, and there was a different face under it. I think Independence Day even like tried to take
they did a little,
yeah. So Alien Report, they touch on all those features. They don't go into like whether or not the face is a mask or whatever, but they really did lean into a lot of those themes from the Christopher Walken Communion film.
Oh, for sure. And like I said in that intro, I because I introed that movie and I was a little drunk and I went off. Dude, Alien Report's a trip because normally these movies are about a family in like a rural area and they're already kind of on the outskirts, right? And narratively what you're doing is you're making your protagonist kind of alone. And it's one of those things
wasn't like central Chicago, right?
Yeah, it was Lori Lightfoot's territory. And we get a dude he's kind of exiled, but only because he's an oddball, right? And he's kind of hooking up with like crime people in the local skate park. And it's so unlike everything else. And unlike all those other movies where the whole premise is based on, do you believe this guy or not? This dude has proof. And we kind of get to go through it. We see him like de-chip himself. We get to see like surrealist painting kind of art of what aliens are doing in their UFOs. Dude, it's a trip. I just hope that they continue with it because again, that movie ends with like chapter 1. And but it's one of those films where you feel like, but are they going to make more? And dude, Patrick, Kevin, if you're listening, you better. God damn it.
I'd be interested in seeing a second Alien Report. Like they did a lot of fantastic and unique stuff with that. Just they leaned into mythology is probably not the right word for this, but the mythology of alien abductions. Like they hit those tropes, but then they're like, this is our spin on it, and this is how polished we're gonna make it, and it looked great.
Oh yeah, dude, those aliens they're definitely treading the uncanny valley. They look so like that's the first question everybody asked them is like, where did you find the real aliens?
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. That makes sense because it was one of the better looking movies.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. I wish I knew you guys better when UF2 was around, when you brought up the Blair Witch Project. Clark had the fortune or misfortune of introducing that, and he was just like, I'm drunk, so it's Blair Witch Project and go off. And I was like, oh man, like this movie came out in like 1999. There's so many fascinating things about not just this movie, but that year that it came out. Like this thing came out the same year that Phantom Menace and The Matrix came out, and still did like amazing, amaze balls, as the kids will say, with it. They're remaking the Blair Witch Project again. Now what Variety said, or the True Hollywood Reporter, whichever industry rag I read, they went, this probably ain't going to be a found footage version. How do you feel about that? Because Blair Witch already tried to do that with Book of Shadows. By the way, there's no book or shadows in that movie, but they still tried to make it different. Whereas, Paranormal Activity, I love Paranormal Activity, like I love Fast and the Furious, but those first 6 movies, they're all kind of the same. And it's only that 7th one that I can't see because I don't have Paramount Plus. It's apparently like Book of Shadows. Thoughts,
it's not like Book of Shadows. It definitely breaks format. Like it would totally count in our like hybrid thing. But there is some weird editing that went on. You get the feel that maybe they had run out of like days to shoot or something. But for for the remake, the Blair Witch is weird. Like when the movie started, when it aired in 99, all of the reactions to it, like, I mean, Kush, I have like 3 different books on that are just like literature about like the reaction to the film. So it's such a cultural thing. And
dude, I stood in line to get into that little single screen theater because like that, the hype was just that strong that weekend.
Yeah. We saw it opening weekend, and we were walking home, and we had to go through a cemetery because I was out here living in like Colma, which is a town outside of Colma, is where they moved all the graveyards from San Francisco. So there's literally like
the town
the
people are dying to get into.
Exactly. The population is rivaled by the dead. And I just remember going on that walk back talking about like, holy shit, was that real? And, you know, a lot of the books kind of confront that, where people say the only reason that movie was worth anything was because they tricked everybody. And there's a statistic. It opened up the next year in Australia, and it had already been like a cultural thing, and everybody knew it was fake. And it got the same return at the box office. People still showed up, and they still liked it. So people, you know, they're thinking about like, well, what's going on here? And I feel like, honestly, that we closed the book with the Adam Wingard sequel, where he did you watch that one, The Blair Witch?
I was actually disappointed with it, which maybe is the wrong attitude or the correct attitude. I don't know. I remember going like, fuck this.
No, and here's the thing. You're a found footage fan, though. So that movie was made to kind of combat all the reaction where people are like, oh, there's no witch. Nothing happens. We don't see anything. Is it even a horror movie? And, you know, all the literature I'm talking about, they all talk about how that movie's the original Blair Witch Project is a film about failure. Like everything in the film is a failure and I mean, like as an existential horror thing, not as like a film in its own, because the movie was anything but. And there's like, again, existential dread is what the Blair Witch Project is. And it's so counter to Studio Hollywood. Yet the sequel that I think is again, I stand by it. I think it's a perfect way to close the book on the Blair Witch, with the Blair Witch, where it's the complete fucking opposite. Like they bring 80 million different cameras out there. We have a drone. We have a lot of kids who are savvy. They drive out. They know what they're getting into. And the movie has monsters. It's got gimmicks. It's a horror film. We even have a labyrinth. We have a building built. Like it's the complete opposite. And they literally answer every complaint people had. It's almost, which again, the fact that you didn't like it, it's proof that, like, remember when Heroes came out? Or like,
that first season of Heroes is amazing.
Dude, but remember, like, the internet started having a big say in Heroes. Like, people would go into forums and be like, oh, it's going to end like this. And writers were reading it, and they're like, well, fuck, everybody knows what's going to happen. We have to change it. And it would ruin it.
I wasn't aware of that.
Dude, yeah. Or what was that other show, Lost? Didn't Lost have a big internet interference too?
Lost was the first TV show that had a podcast produced by the producers who went like, yeah, this happened, and they kind of explained the episode, and like, and maybe this will happen next week, and they kind of try to misdirect you, but then like, we got you. So we did this because, and they would dissect each episode, and that was exciting because that wasn't happening. Like, you were getting real insider in focus.
Dude, that's rad. But you know, I think they learned the hard way that when you give people what they want,
listen to the fans.
Yeah, they don't know what they want. And the Blair Witch, dude, I think
every complaint about the original Blair Witch was we didn't get to see the witch.
Exactly.
And I was like, that was the best part about the movie. You didn't see the witch. Like,
well, then
a bunch of fucking hobos.
You're totally right. And here's the thing. People will be like, hey, we didn't see the witch. And it's like, dude, it's 2022. You're still fucking talking about it. Like, there's something there and you don't even realize it. Like, this is still in your fucking craw. And the thing is, you know, Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett, they're the guys who did, like, you know, VHS. Like, these dudes they're tried and true. Like, they know found footage, and they came together and they made, you know, the Blair Witch, the one that was going to correct it. And it's like, oh, weird, it didn't work. And I'm like, technically they crushed it. They did everything they needed to. It was a roller coaster ride. It was nonstop. But you know what?
Scene where Baby Girl is like crawling through the mud hut, or, you know, the mud tunnel. Like,
oh yeah,
I'm feeling all the claustrophobia there. Like, that shit is great. But then when we do reveal what the quote unquote Blair Witch looks like, I'm like, this is some bullshit. I hate all of it.
I think they even tried to walk it back, and they're like, oh, maybe that isn't the Blair Witch. And it's like, dude, who cares? Like, the movie they made, it fucking works. But Yeah, I don't, the audience, again, it was confusing. He gave found footage fans a horror movie. And like I said earlier, I don't think they're the same. Like the Venn diagram definitely overlaps, but yeah, so I don't know. With the new movie, fucking do something different. Make it like Archive 81. I don't care. I just don't see the need to bring the name into it because, whenever they do a remake, they're trying to cash in on the audience.
And there you go, guys. Go. Again, we're gonna keep it micro. We're gonna keep it dose, and yeah, just those 2 clips today. Like I said, next week we'll have a real live guest back on, and I'm gonna keep it a secret just for the time being. Just know that I'm very much looking forward to talking to this person again. Actually, they've never been on the show, but I consider them a friend of mine, and yeah, I'm looking forward to introducing all of y'all to them. So, anyways, I do some stuff around here. Me and friend of the family, Mike Fish, we do this little thing called the Waffle Box. It is the original Waffle Box. It is the best part of Wednesdays. It is the People's Podcast. Coming to you all the way from the future home of Super Bowl 60. You accept no substitutions. You love us because we do this, and we do this because we love you. So, for Russel Fischer, for Steven Steinbacher, I've been Kush Hayes. You've been you.
Microdose, 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 yeah, microdose.
From the BosNet family.
Oh, hey, buddy. Yeah. Batman, no problem. And then